Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is going to be Paranormal Vlog number 2, and today I'm going to share with you some very interesting things that happened to me during the age of about 2. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. So at the age of about 1.5 to 2 years old, I spent most of my life at a children's hospital here in Toronto. The first hospital that I do remember staying in was in the children's ward at a hospital called the Women's College Hospital. And I spent my first year there because a little bit after my time inside of the toddler's incubator box, I wasn't strong or healthy enough to be able to be released from the hospital. And as I was growing and staying inside the hospital, I grew my time at Women's College Hospital, and I was transferred over to a bigger general hospital called the Toronto Sick Kids Hospital. Even though I spent most of my time at the Women's College Hospital growing up from 1 to 2, I don't really remember all that much because most of the time I was put on bed rest because I was severely underweight and was lacking a lot of proper nutrition. So I was being sometimes hand-fed baby food, or other times I had to have food IVs from time to time. So it wasn't really all that eventful. So one of the strangest incidences that I had happen was a little bit after I got transferred over from the Women's College Hospital to Toronto Sick Kids. I was put in this room, and my mom, she was in a different room, and they allowed her to come to visit me. They put me in a single room from what I can remember, and it was as if I was seeing a whole bunch of these shadows, and even though I couldn't really make out any faces, I would notice that these shadows would be walking in and around my hospital room, and sometimes peeking in, sometimes going into other people's rooms. When my mom was there, I would always tell her about the strange things that I would see. There would be some nights where, as she was recovering from, I guess, a post-birth illness, she had gotten sick, and they also decided that she too had to stay for a couple of days, just to be observed. On the times that she was away and she was sent home to be with my other family members, I was in this hospital room by myself. So I was attended a lot by the nurses that were there. Sometimes the nurses would play with me, and sometimes I would just be left by myself. In a safe area, of course. They had security in this child's play area that would watch the kids at the hospital to make sure that nothing weird would happen. On the times that I was left by myself because the nurses were busy, sometimes these shadowy looking beings that just looked like shadows would come to talk to me, and it was like it didn't scare me exactly because I just thought that they were just shadows and maybe it was an imaginary friend. So I didn't really think about it much. So I would talk to these shadowy looking people and they would come into the room or the playroom and they would talk to me. So I played with them and they would tell me certain things about certain people within the hospital ward. I was told so many things about uh, other hospital patients that were in the opposite rooms and how some of them have done not so good things. They would also tell me about stories of things that they heard in the emergency room, and I wasn't allowed to go anywhere else. Um, so some nurses they came in to check on me and they started asking who I was talking to, and I would tell them like, "Oh, I'm talking to my imaginary friend," or "I'm talking to my friend. He's right here." And I don't really know his name because he won't tell me his name, but he's very friendly and he likes the toy truck that you guys gave me to play with. It ended up that the nurses called my mom from uh, the apartment. Um, so the spirit would tell me that the nurse thought that I might be having some sort of delusional breakdown. My mom needed to come to check up on me to make sure that everything was okay. Of course, the nurse, after that, I never saw her again. The spirit, of course, then told me that he had to go um, because it was his time to leave and that he didn't want to go, but it was his time to go. So he ended up leaving, and my mom showed up at the hospital again, and I was scolded because she told me not to talk to strangers while I was in the hospital. But I told her that I wasn't talking to a stranger, I was talking to a friend um, who just looked like a shadow. Um, so, of course, she wasn't really happy about that. So I got into trouble, and um, it wasn't anything crazy serious, but she did yell at me about, not talking to anybody in the hospital. and they put me even on a longer stay in the hospital because of that, to um, do both a blood test as well as a neurological brain test, um, to see what was going on with me. So, for now, I'm going to leave it here. Thanks for spending some time with me today. I hope that you enjoyed my experience. I have plenty more to share with you at a later time, so feel free to subscribe and turn on your notification bell. Thanks for your time. See you next time.